Without further ado, straight from the airport, I will introduce the globetrotting CEO, Ilan Sobel.
Thank you, Justin. And good evening, good afternoon, everybody. It's quite a feat when I look at this chart that we're at our 10th growth strategy update. Wow, time flies, the last 2.5 years. And I must say, as somebody who really feels very privileged to be the CEO of BioHarvest Sciences, I'm actually very excited to be doing this update with you all, because we have really phenomenal news that we broke to the markets today, and also talking about our third quarter. And I'll also, do something that I haven't done before, which is kind of give you a little bit of a sneak peek into the fourth quarter and some of the activities that we've been doing so far in the fourth quarter, specifically what went on last weekend when I was in the US on a very, very focused mission regarding driving our Vinia business. So I'm going to move quickly into the forward-looking statements. Just want to make sure everybody reads this. You can read this faster than I can talk. Okay, great. So today's journey, we'll very quickly go through third quarter performance. I'm going to spend some time on the scale-up Q4 highlights, so you know what's coming down the track. And then, we're super appreciative to have Dr. Yochi Hagay with us here for tonight's presentation. It's really amazing to have Dr. Yochi, who's the mother of the technology, and is really dedicated more than 15 years of her life to building the technology platform that's we know is going to disrupt the world in so many different areas. And I'm going to talk through the cannabis composition that we released today, and really share with you the gravity of what this means from a commercial perspective, from a medical application perspective. And then I'm also going to spend some time talking a little bit about our partnership progress. And then we'll go through to a Q&A. And you'll have a chance to ask a few questions to Dr. Yochi, and we can cover any other questions that Justin's getting through from everybody. So that's the journey for the next I would say 60 minutes, but with me normally it runs longer to 75 90 minutes. So I can promise you it's going to be a good ride. Okay, so let's now look at Vinia third quarter performance. We had a great quarter. It seems so far ago, so long ago, but we grew 145% versus the third quarter in 2021. And that's really a phenomenal performance as we start to really scale the business. And ladies and gentlemen, we've just started to scale the business. When you look at it from an overall Q3 versus Q2 perspective, we grew 80%. And, we're starting to deal with serious numbers. We delivered over $1.7 million in sales orders, which is, really significant for the quarter. And obviously, as we have a track record of continuing to build on these kind of results. And year to date, so from January up until September 30th, we have made significant gains versus last year, but we're sitting on close to $3.5 million of sales orders, and that's 120% growth versus last year. From a overall B2B perspective, the partnership with Batory continues to get stronger and stronger. We have, as I've said before, a number of customers in the pipeline, and you'll see this. There's a few differences in this chart versus what I normally present, and these are these two little circles here. So what are these two little circles or big circles? These are customers that we think are really close to popping, to actually converting, and are about to basically bring their products very shortly to market. So that's super exciting. And Nicole and Vince and the Batory team have done a tremendous job in the last really 18 months in building the pipeline. And now we're starting to, very shortly, we'll start to see the fruits of some of their hard labor. So very, very exciting, and watch this spot. Given the results in Q3 and the guidance that we have given our shareholder partners of revenue guidance of $5 to $7 million, we remain super confident that given the activities that we have going into Q4 and the B2B pipeline, that we're going to land in this zone of $5 to $7 million. And I'm looking forward to obviously landing in the best possible place in this zone. And more to come, obviously, as we start to see the buildup of activities in Q4. So now let's look at Vinia USA performance. Wow, look at this chart. The chart really, tells a very clear story. As you know, we were supply chain constrained, for the first 4 quarters we're in the US. And as we brought oxygen into the supply chain with the new factory coming on stream, we really saw an amazing result in third quarter with really only 6 weeks where we had our foot on the accelerator with just over $1 million that we delivered in the third quarter, and that was 187% growth versus previous quarter. And as I said, that was really just putting the foot on the accelerator from August 15 with our partnership with TBN. Third quarter included only 6 weeks of the TV partnership with TBN, as we're targeting 80 million people. And this really is delivering significant value for us as we connect with a significant segment of the US population. We're talking 80 million people that we're connecting the Vinia brand on a functional level, given all the functional benefits that we're delivering, on a emotional level, given the connection that many of these people have to the state of Israel, and obviously from a spiritual level, because they understand clearly, this consumer understands clearly the power of the red grape in the context of delivering health benefits based going back all the way into biblical times. So the combination of being able to really connect on a functional, spiritual, and emotional perspective has led to amazing conversion rates. And we believe what will be even better loyalty rates than what we're used to, which are already, I would say, best in class in the industry. And you see that, have a look at this. This is an amazing chart, and it's a chart which really dimensionalizes the health of a business. For us, obviously subscriptions is critical. And today, roughly 90% of our business is subscription. But when it comes to subscription, we want to make sure that people are not on a 1-month subscription, but we want to make sure that people are on 3 months or more subscriptions. So that's, today we have the packages of 3-month subscription, 6-month subscription, and 12-month subscription. And what we saw in the third quarter is that, nearly 90% of our subscription mix is actually greater than is 3 months or greater. And we're seeing a lot more 6 months and 12-month subscriptions come through, which is really a manifestation of 2 things. Number one, the consumer's confidence in the product based on the science. And number 2, many consumers that are now upping their subscriptions. So they had a 3-month and they're moving to 6 months and 12 months. So very, very exciting. And it's a very, very healthy chart, which really dimensionalizes the quality growth in the business. Reviews. The reviews is critical to be able to drive conversion. It's the first place that everybody goes to when they look to actually purchase a product. And you can see that, consistently, we've managed a 4.8 out of 5. We, as of, a few hours ago, we have 926 verified reviews. 12 months ago, we were sitting on 117 reviews. So really, it's a dramatic leap. And it's, again, these kind of levels of reviews is a function of people's connectedness to the brand and to the product because of the transformational positive value that's driving on a daily basis. Okay, very quickly into Israel. Israel had a cracker of a quarter. We grew 39% year on year. And then this chart that I love, which again, it shows now basically you got 10 quarters here, and you see that we've grown every single quarter, bar one quarter where the country was shut down, which was the first quarter of this year with COVID, when the country was shut down for all of January and February. So again, great performance by the team, the Israel team. And this is important chart because it's showing you that, you know, in a small market, right, mature market, we've been able to consistently grow the business every single quarter, okay, which I think bodes very well for what we can do in the US, which is just obviously proportionally such a bigger marketplace. So let's talk a little bit now on Vinia recent scale-up highlights. I was in the US for a few things last week. One of them was my mission to spend some time. I had the privilege being invited to the Mike Huckabee show with a very dear friend, O.S. Hawkins. And we had, you know, basically 8 minutes on the Huckabee show. I'm going to, Justin will send out, I don't want to, there's some very cool footage. And it was actually amazing. You know, Mike Huckabee, he actually is on Vinia, has been on Vinia for the last 18 months. And he said some very nice things about the brand and his connection with the brand. And it was a quality 8 minutes, which really drove significant business. And what I'm going to share with you all now is what I look at when we're doing the right marketing activities. I'm going to share with you what I can see basically on Shopify to show you how quickly from a live interview, it translates into people moving straight to the website and all the way through into the funnel of our website and people purchasing. So what you actually see here, okay, are all these little dots and I've taken, and I'm going to be very clear here, I'm taking like a very small period of time once we had actually aired the interview. You can see the blue dots are all the people that are actually on the website and have gone into the cart, C-A-R-T, which is when you click to buy. And I'm going to just click a little video here that shows you, look at that, going crazy, the dots going, and then all the flashes are people buying. And you can see the top right-hand corner, you see the dollars coming in. You can see the orders coming in, okay? And you see the orders growing. And all the reds and the dots and the flashing is when literally people have gone through the whole full purchase. So you can see how, you know, quality content, and you can see on the bottom right is the customer behavior, those people going into the carts, those people that are checking out, and those people that have purchased all the way through. So they're going through the funnel. So it was a great weekend. And again, it was an amazing weekend to build a significant amount of customers, what we believe will be very loyal customers, as we really start to scale our Vinia business. And these kind of, in addition to the advertising that we're doing, these kind of different programs are very, very important, that we have a chance to actually show people the face of the company, the values of the company, and help to explain some of the technology. So I thought I'd share that with you. Pretty exciting, and we're really happy with the results from last weekend that obviously we'll see in the fourth quarter. Let me just move on, try and figure out. Okay, Amazon. So whilst obviously all of this was going on, you know, we saw something very interesting in Amazon, where we got to the number 3 out of 250 plus, I think there's maybe 300 plus resveratrol brands on Amazon with a 4.7 out of 5 rating as of October 23, okay? But we got to number 3, which is amazing. I've set a task for the team. We want to be number 1 resveratrol brand on Amazon. We want to wear that title. And when we get that title, we want to keep that title, and that's something that's personal. Obviously, I have got some feedback that we haven't always been in stock in Amazon, and it has been challenging for us. I will tell you just very openly to my shareholder partners, we're still hand to mouth because the demand has been so significant for Vinia. Especially when you get spikes like what you see from an Eric Metaxas show or a Mike Huckabee show. You get these massive spikes, and you have to, be able to feed those spikes. And then, for us, we're still learning Amazon. And with Amazon as well, when we ship into Amazon, it has to go through their fulfillment centers, and it takes some time. There's probably a zillion other products that they got to work through. So there has been, some out of stocks. We're working to deal with that. Obviously, it's a critical priority because we know that some people shop exclusively on Amazon, and we don't want to be in any way inefficient with our TV advertising. People go to Amazon and they can't find Vinia. So you have my commitment there that we're working hard to solve that. And, as we start to increase our capacity levels at the new facility, because we're very quickly ramping up, and we will, we'll start to have a little bit more oxygen to be able to deal with some of these very significant peaks. But super, super exciting. We got to number 3. And, now I know we can get there. So, as I said, it's personal. I want to be there. I want that badge.
Can I ask you a quick question on that?
Yeah?
Can I ask a quick follow-up question on that?
Sure.
Is Vinia.com an option if Amazon is showing a currently out of stock?
Of course. But the problem is some people, they only know how to shop in Amazon. They don't move off Amazon. It's just Amazon on Amazon. And I think, we underestimated how big that segment is. It is a big segment. But yes, Vinia.com has always had stock. It's just about moving the stock around. And also, you have to move the stock in Amazon across all their fulfillment centers. Okay? But we're working through that. And I think we'll get on top of that very quickly. Because if we want the number 1 title in Amazon, we got to have stock. Okay. Justin, feel free to interrupt me, okay? The other area I wanted to talk about what's happening down the track now, I'm talking about moving forward in some big activities for the incremental activities, I should say, is with Dr. Brian Kornblatt, our Chief Medical Officer, with having, the power of Dr. Brian on board, we've now opened up what we call our D2D. I like this, direct to doctor channel. And we're now building this channel. We're going after major functional and integrative centers. We've already, sold Vinia into, many of these. Some of these are in some of these cities right here that you can see: Naples, Florida, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, and basically, we're targeting at least 75 nationwide by end of year. And I want to be in more than 1,000 by the end of next year. And this is really us partnering with top integrative specialists and us going direct, and then having the doctors actually, in many cases, they will provide the product to their patients. So very, very exciting. And, you can only do that when you have, the quality from a medical perspective and a commercial perspective of somebody like Dr. Brian, who's really driving this initiative. From a what's next, obviously we're continuing with our TV advertising, and Jared and the team, Jared, AJ, Yael and the team have got a lot going on the marketing side, but we do have another big event in November, which is with Eric Stackelbeck. I filmed this last week with him in Israel. We're going to have an amazing program, which I'm sure will do really well, and hopefully we'll get the same kind of effect that I shared with you a little bit earlier with all those flashing lights. Okay. So that's it on basically Vinia. It's on, hopefully everybody feels comfortable with the progress so far, with everything that we're doing to scale the business. We're delivering everything that we said that we were going to deliver. And we're feeling good about the guidance that we've given for the end of the year. Now, I want to go from Vinia to cannabis. And I'm going to spend some time really helping you all understand the gravity of what we've been able to do as, you start to translate and you start to pull apart the composition and what it means for this company. And there's a reason why Dr. Yochi is here, because Dr. Yochi and her team really, have to be just embraced for the sheer commitment, audacity that they've driven the last 4 years in being able to get the technology to be able to literally do what we've done from a hemp plant, a 3% hemp plant. It's just unthinkable. And I asked Dr. Yochi, you've been able to unlock secrets. As I say, you have to be on this call, and she kindly agreed to get out of the R&D area and to be on the call, and she's going to be joining us shortly. So I think it's important just to step back and appreciate that our cannabis proposition is delivering on all the pain points in the industry. Okay, we saw something happen today with Canopy. A lot of that's been driven because consolidation, because the industry is under stress. The industry is in pain, and timing could not be better for BioHarvest to come in and disrupt the industry. And the pain points that they're dealing with as it relates to significant pricing compression, technology is going to answer this. Our technology is going to answer this by bringing differentiation as a result of innovation and technology. Cost of capital is increasing. Our technology has a cost of capital which is 1/7 per ton versus the industry on an indoor level. Sustainability, many challenges on the sustainability front. A request for a congressional inquiry as a result of what cannabis is doing to the ecosystem. And as everybody knows, we win on every single metric from a sustainability perspective. And then actual cost of manufacturing. And I've said this before, hands down, we will be, as we go into North America and we build our scale, we will be hands down the lowest cost producer of the best grade of cannabis. Hands down. Today, we're focusing on the need to innovate, to differentiate. And that's all about having just a product which is game-changing. And this is product number one of a portfolio of products that we will be bringing to the market. This is, I would say, composition number one of a portfolio of compositions which lead to multiple products, which we'll be bringing to the marketplace over the next 12 months. So here we go. Justin, am I good to go into this?
100%. You're going to answer a bunch of questions right here too, so it's perfect.
I hope so. Okay, I'm just looking at my time. We're good. Okay, so as everybody knows, we grow trichomes. We grow bio bubble hash, as we affectionately call it, 100 to 200 times the density of trichomes versus the plant. We clearly, from what we released today, we have unique cannabinoid levels and ratios that are not seen. Find me a plant that comes close to what we actually delivered to the market today. And what's important to understand is that this fine lady sitting across the way from me right now, her and her team, they have built masterfully over the last using 15 years of knowledge and applying this knowledge of cellular plant biology to cannabis, that they have built the capabilities to tune our cannabinoids. And in addition to tuning or soliciting different levels of cannabinoids from the cells or from the trichomes, by altering a number of different variables, they are able to unlock rare cannabinoids that are not detectable in the plant. Not detectable. It's like magic. Human technology cannot detect the levels of THCV, CBDV, below detectable levels. And here, Dr. Yochi Hagay and her team take non-detectable in hemp, and they move it up in the case of THCV and CBDV to significant levels that there are a handful of strains out there that can deliver it just singularly with high THC or high CBD. That, in my world, is magic and really demonstrates the gravity and the magnitude of the technology capability that we have. And this is just a sniff of what we're going to be bringing to the marketplace in the next 12 months. And I think before I get into the actual composition, I want to just spend a little bit of time on what Dr. Chris Dardamo articulated in the press release. And here you have a very, very esteemed doctor, medical expert. He's a director at the Center for Integrated Medicine at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. And Chris's quote really helps dimensionalize the power of what we can do. And I think everybody understands that pharma companies, doctors out there have been eyeing and trying to understand the potential of full spectrum cannabis to address many chronic health indications that today we don't have good enough treatment options. And what we've done today in this specific composition that we've released to the marketplace is that we've demonstrated the ability to elicit a depth and breadth of cannabinoids at significant biologically active levels that are produced consistently, that is going to represent a breakthrough towards the development down the track of efficient cannabis-based botanical drugs. And in that journey, as we launch into North America, because we can play on the field and do all the work required for a botanical drug at the same time, this is going to allow us to change and drive a level of human utility value that, is going to, no doubt, have such a transformational positive impact on, please God, hundreds of thousands of people. And ultimately, if we can do that, we're going to drive significant shareholder value. So this, I think, really helps understand the potential with what we have and what we have to nurture in our hands. And, we started with initial genetics purposefully that were not great, because we wanted to prove the power of our technology, the power of the tuning, the power of the ability to increase levels, to solicit those cannabinoids at levels way greater than what's found in the plant. And this chart really demonstrates the magnitude of what we've been able to do and the potential that can be derived from this. Think about it. Dr. Yochi and her team, Dr. Malkit, they took a 3% hemp plant and turned it into a full spectrum composition of 36% cannabinoids, increasing it by a factor of 12. And in doing this, you have a spectrum of cannabinoids that has never been seen before in its entourage effect. So who knows what this composition can really achieve? Because the plant has never delivered this. And that's why we can't wait to get into clinicals. Because get this product in front of people, because that's really where we're going to see where the rubber hits the road on how this unique full spectrum proposition can address a number of different palliative indications, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So I think it's important when you break it down, you see significant levels of THCV and CBDV, which in themselves are very rare, and they've never been seen before together. You'll get a strain which may have this kind of level of CBDV with CBD or THCV with high THC. But you never see CBDV and THCV coupled together like this at such significant levels. Now, I also want to remind people that as we start to think about the potential products that could come out of this, CBDV isolate and THCV isolate today, you can see why there's a dollar sign there. It's a trigger for me to make sure you all understand that these sell today anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000 a kilo. And you all understand the cost per kilo we can get our product to. And even at these significant levels, 2.5 and 4.4 respectively, you don't have to produce many kilos to get to 100% product. And there's significant margins that can be made if we decide to go down that path. I just want you to understand, and that's why it's great that we can sit and talk about this. It's much easier for me to talk about this than to do it in a press release, to understand the options. And I'm just going to be sharing with you some other really exciting options. And as we also, when we look at the levels of CBDV and THCV, which are significant, we're doing that also with significant CBD at 18% and a good level of THC at 7.5%. Remember, the THC was increased by a factor of 83. I think it's also important to understand the THCV was increased by a factor of 249 and CBDV by 88. This is the power of the technology that we have. Importantly as well, I want to point out that we have a very unique ratio of CBD and THC of 2.5 to 1 as we look at this composition. You don't find this everywhere. It can be found, but not found everywhere. And then one can't forget our friends CBN, CBC, and CBG, because they exist here together in decent levels. And you can see the magnification was significant, specifically for the CBN and the CBG versus what was originally found in the plant. So all up, you have a profile of cannabinoids, meaningful levels with breadth and depth coming together, working as an entourage that fits major indications from a medicinal cannabis perspective and dealing with significant size of the prize indications that today, are under-delivered on from the pharma world with synthetic compounds, dealing with anxiety disorder, ADHD, ADD, pain management, arthritis and joint inflammation, insomnia. This is what we're dealing with. These are big, big opportunities. And if you actually go in and you look at the research that was done by New Frontiers, which shows the specific indications that are the greatest drivers of medicinal consumption. The ones in blue are the ones that we believe this specific composition can have the potential of driving a significant improvement in anxiety, arthritis, pain management, insomnia, inflammation, nausea, vomiting, ADD, ADHD. That's what gets me excited. This is one unique composition that we believe is going to have utility value in this area. And I want to spend a little bit of time also, I've shared with you the composition and the magnitude of the composition that we've delivered to the marketplace today. And I think it's very clear that nothing like this exists, but I think it's importantly to understand the technology and what we can do. But it's important also to understand the quality of the materials that we're bringing to the marketplace and why we actually believe our cannabinoids are special. And this here is a picture. You can see on the right-hand side is a picture of trichomes. You can see the actual pearl at the top and the stem. What's important to understand that our trichomes, because they're grown in bioreactors, they have a super thick cell membrane because it's grown in water. And we know that our trichomes are very resistant to acid, and they're much more stable in acidic conditions like in our stomach. It's high acid, low pH. And we believe this is going to result in less degradation of cannabinoids. And this is super, super important because this will help overall solubility when it goes into the actual intestinal tract. And ultimately bioavailability. And we're now doing some tests to further validate what we understand from a number of other data points that we have. In addition, because our actual trichomes have much less fat or wax versus regular cannabinoids in oil or in tinctures. And what ends up happening is the body takes longer time to digest cannabis oils with fat. And that's why you have a time to onset of 40 plus minutes when you're dealing specifically with oils. We believe with our cannabinoids, we have less fat, and therefore it's easier for the enzymes in the stomach to break it down faster versus oil. So that will really allow for better, time to action and overall improvement in solubility and bioavailability. And Dr. Yochi and the team are working at further validating it. So not only do we believe we have, a very, very powerful composition that's able to address multiple indications, we believe also that the structural composition of the materials that we have, when consumed in basically an edible form, as in a capsule, right, will have very unique qualities. And the key thing now is we're working on the right partnerships to drive a fast path to clinicals, and more to come on this in the next few weeks. And also, when we look at the strain, just the strain, if I was a one strain company, but I just want you to understand the power of this strain, that it's a perfect strain to have in major adult use markets, which have large medicinal markets, but also the large medicinal markets that we have. Think Florida. It's a $2 billion market, 680,000, 700,000 patients. A large proportion of those patients above the age of 50. Think Pennsylvania, another very big medicinal market, close to 700,000 patients, at least $1.5 billion. Think Maryland, think Ohio. These are big, big markets that this kind of strain, because nobody else has the quality of this kind of composition to give those consumers who are specifically looking for solutions in the area, the indications that are provided, let alone an amazing cost of goods that the industry has not seen before, let alone also the consistency. We can't forget the power of consistency that our technology is able to deliver. So where are we with partners? We are heavily engaged in dialogues with anchor partner discussions in North America and Israel. Okay. I want to say that choosing the right partner, these are anchor partners that you have to live with. You want to live with and grow each other's businesses for 10, 15 years and beyond. And it's critical that we make the right decisions here with the right partner company that has the same values that we have, has the same aspirations, wants to go on the journey that we want to go on, a company that understands the power of our product and the fit with the market. And so the partner company fit, the product fit and the market fit is critical. And that's where we're going to get long-term partnerships that create significant value. So it's a key priority for me. I've met some amazing people, really amazing people I've seen, companies driving transformational strategies from a vertical or horizontal integration perspective. I've walked a ton of indoor facilities. And we're getting to the point that we're starting to realize where is family and where should we just remain friends? Because the difference between family and friends is the family is where you want to be long term. So obviously, we will continue to communicate the path here, and I would just say that this is an important priority that we're focusing on. And when we can bring compositions like we just brought to the market today, it also increases the leverage that we have as we sit down and we talk with partners, because they can now understand, the sheer gravity of what we can do. So watch out for this as well. It's important to understand, and now I'm going back again, referring to the composition, that what we've developed also allows us to play to win in hemp. Because we've just spoken about cannabis up until now, okay? The cannabis opportunities is extreme. The hemp opportunities, one can't underestimate. You have a market today at retail dollars of at least $5.5 to $6 billion. It's going to get to $16-20 billion very, very quickly. And, I'm going to share with you a factoid that'll blow your mind, but it plays totally into our wheelhouse, into our strengths. And that is the fact that 40% of hemp sales today is online. Online sales. We've just built an online machine. We've got pipes into thousands and thousands of people's homes. When you look at the number of people we're going to be, we plan to be in 12 months' time, we're talking about tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of customers. So going in with hemp-derived products is like, it's there. The opportunity is waiting to be taken. And I want to show you how serious we are at it, because we've already working as a team on the product development side, all the way through to the branding. And I want you to see, it's only when you really see something in a bottle, right, like with our Vinia, that you understand, wow, here is another $100-200 million business, easily. So let's go back to the composition. There are technologies out there that allow us to easily extract cannabinoids so that we can maintain the hemp nature of the proposition. So if we take the strain and we extract out of the strain CBDV and CBD. Now, when you look at this proposition, what's super, super unique, and find me a product out there that has it, is that the ratio of CBD and CBDV is 4:1, and you have high CBD levels, which is super, super unique. So when you then extract that out of this composition, you have an opportunity to do this, to really start to build an amazing product proposition. This is CBD to the power of V, this unique blend of CBD together with CBDV at a 4:1 ratio. And what's beautiful about CBD and CBDV is they're very complementary when the receptors that they work on. And we're dealing with here, areas like anti-inflammation, muscle relaxation, anti-nausea, reducing inflammation in the intestines, like dealing with something like Crohn's, helping people to sleep disorders. This is a space, a big space that we can play in here as a hemp, as well as obviously when we look at it in our cannabis overall composition. What's important to also understand, and I forgot to mention, when people understand the power also of THCV, and what THCV is basically where people see the future of this cannabinoid, is in dealing with appetite, suppression of appetite, obviously addressing obesity, as well as, there has been work in animal studies in diabetes and osteoporosis. So these are some of the opportunities. But coming back to hemp with CBDV and CBD, you have a great product that we can bring to market. And this is the ideas of the product, leveraging the power of our commercial platform that we will look to bring to market using the power of our e-commerce machine. But there's more. We have the best polyphenol house in the world with what we have with our red grape cell, soon to come olive cell and pomegranate cell. But imagine this for a second. Bringing best-in-class capabilities in polyphenols together with hemp. And so now you have this massive, massive ability of the polyphenols and the cannabinoids all working together, dealing with reducing stress and anxiety, muscle recovery, improving sleep quality, relieving pain and inflammation. We can really bring superior products to the marketplace quickly, nationally, and leverage the power of, just in a small way, this composition. So think about it. You've really got, at the end of the day, and I'm sorry for jumping around, but you've got like 3 major areas here. You've got CBDV, THCV isolates. You can, many dollars coming from that based on what they go for today. You've got the nature of the full spectrum that we can bring, going after specific major medical indications that where pharma is under-delivering. And then you have the opportunities to go out with unique hemp and polyphenol propositions. So this is one strain, and just helping you understand the opportunity that comes out of this. And you can see a picture tells 1,000 words. This product, when you bring the power of a 4-to-1 ratio, 4-to-1 ratio, you can't find it. CBD and CBDV together with Vinia, it's a game changer. We're going to do it again, end of 22, maybe into early 2023. We're working real hard. We've got high THC strains that we're putting through the process. We have 2 strains we're putting through the process. And you've seen what we did with 3% hemp. I'm looking forward to being here, in the quarterly update for the end of the year or the 4th quarter, and really sharing with you progress from Dr. Yochi and the team as they look to work their magic on higher THC strains. But I wanted you to understand that the magnitude of what we've achieved and how that translates into real commercial dollars for the company in what we can do quickly, isolates, hemp, and then obviously hitting the ground running in North America, in a market with this strain, dealing with, specifically focusing on medicinal cannabis users across major, recreational markets, as well as major medical markets, which I've mentioned, which are markets that have significant scale. So it's super exciting, and that's obviously where I'm focusing my energy from a partnership perspective, because the partnerships have to sync with the strategy. So, summing up, I think it's very clear, the reasons why our technology is just so attractive for future partners in this area, whether it's cannabis, on the cannabis operators, even those pharma companies that are realizing that they're going to have to play in this area, based on our consistency, our composition, the sheer fact that we're 7 times less on CapEx per ton, our sustainability credentials, and the fact that our COGS are at least 60 to 70% less than COGS that I benchmarked 4 or 5 months ago, and the COGS have only gone one way in the last few months. So hopefully that really helps you understand what we brought to the market today, and I've been able to unpack that press release in a way that gives a lot more texture. I'm just going to quickly touch on financing before we go to the Q&A. As you saw, we recently closed 6.88 million Canadian. I want to welcome our new investor partners. We have some great new partners that have come on board with significant contributions because they believe in the company. I also want to thank existing partners, and you know who you are out there, for increasing their positions in their company and for really, again, just demonstrating your trust in myself and Dr. Yochi and the team, and more to come as we look to close by November 15. Okay, Justin, we're now going to move to the Q&A section, and I'm going to have the pleasure of introducing, honestly, the most remarkable lady I've ever worked with, who's taught me everything I know since I came to this company 2.5 years ago as an investor. I'd like to introduce the co-founder of the company and our esteemed Chief Technology Officer, Dr. Yochi Hagay. And as you know, I like to refer to her as Dr. Yochi because really, you know, I would feel uncomfortable referring to her just as Yochi, given what she has really done in her professional career. So over to you, Justin. The floor is open, and hopefully that's been a good meeting for everybody, and look forward to the Q&A.
Yeah, she's Dr. Hagay to me. Ilan, could you please stop sharing your screen and then you can go larger and
yeah,
as
sure.
we're talking to you, we can see you. Thank you. Okay, lots of questions. Yeah, with that intro to Dr. Hagay, why don't we start there? Yochi, why? A lot of questions about THC and hemp and our composition. Why did you select hemp to start with as opposed to a high THC level cannabis plant as that first plant source?
First of all, hello and good afternoon to everybody. I'm happy to be here. So to answer to your question or to one of the investor question, so BioHarvest is a biotechnology company, and our goal, just like our DNA, is to develop therapeutic solutions and treatments. And when we started the cannabis program, we aimed at a product that has high level of CBD and the highest expression of minor cannabinoids while keeping the THC lower, so whomever is being treated does not necessarily have to be administered any strong psychoactive material. Also, products with high CBD combined with other cannabinoids may be more effective than one that with just 1 or 2 cannabinoids, as the full spectrum may have a beneficial or better additive effect. Such as, epilepsy or Crohn's disease or other disease. So this composition is very, very unique and has very big potential.
Okay, good. Thank you. And then a follow-up, a lot of questions around, if not starting with THC, Ilan, you mentioned that we're going to be releasing in the next few months, announcing a THC composition. A lot of people are asking about, and I think they're referring to recreational, with regulations, et cetera. When do you think BioHarvest might be producing a THC? What has to happen before we produce a high THC product?
So, I mean, from a North America perspective, let's say, we want to be in a situation next year that we're producing both, this specific composition that we've shared today, plus obviously a high THC full spectrum composition. You're always going to get that full spectrum from us. This is really the power of the technology, right? So what Dr. Yochi and the team are working on there, we have 2 high THC strains that we're putting through our system. And for sure, from a tuning perspective, one would expect to be getting, a breadth of cannabinoids, major cannabinoids, making them more major. And then what we've done right now, we turn minor cannabinoids into major cannabinoids. And that's what we're now, coming from the other angle, are going to be doing, starting with higher THC genetics. Whilst we're doing that, Justin, we're now going in full force ahead as we start to look at really doubling down on this specific composition. As it relates to us in Israel, we're at, we believe, the final stages, the last mile, as it relates to our licenses with the Israeli Ministry of Health. And obviously, once we get those licenses, there's a lot we can do coming out of our 2-ton facility that's really waiting for the licenses for us to start producing. And then obviously, the partnership deals that we're looking to do in the US, the expectation is that we want to be on the ground and manufacturing in 2023. Both strains are coming at it with high CBD, still decent levels of THC, but all the other cannabinoids, and then coming it from the other angle with higher THC and obviously leveraging the synergistic effect of the other cannabinoids. Thank you.
There's about 40 questions about the go-to-market plan there. So hopefully that covers it. Please, people, keep them coming in. When do you think you're going to be able to, or we're going to be able to release any cannabis revenue or production forecasts?
I mean, let's break them down. We're building cannabis revenue into our P&L for next year. So my expectation is sometime in the fourth quarter, we will give guidance for 2023, specifically related to Vinia, because we have a high level of comfort around that, Vinia guidance for next year. And we will probably give guidance for cannabis because we're getting closer and closer to the line based on the dialogues that we're having. So, from an overall revenue perspective, it's baked into the 2023, overall P&L. There is significant cannabis revenue that we have there, and that's my job to go and get that revenue. As it relates to, forecasted production, we know what we can do. What's beautiful is that we have this very big factory, which is a 20 plus factory that we believe we can get more, but let's keep it at 20 plus right now, 20 plus ton per year factory that we're now literally, sweating like crazy. And we know exactly what our yields are on Vinia. We're getting better and better at that. The factory's getting more and more efficient. We've got the new dryers coming in. In fact, we have the team from Pushna who arrived, I think, tonight. We're picking them up from the airport, right? Tonight, they're coming in and they're installing the mini machine for us to start to do work with and practice the technology before we get the monster of a machine that comes in the second quarter. And this mini machine will also start to use for some of the clinical trials that we're going to be commencing shortly. And Dr. Brian will talk more about that shortly. We've got some amazing trials where we've had some, I would say, best-in-class medical institutions come to us and actually ask us for our Vinia Parseed resveratrol material to be part of some significant trials. So we have all this knowledge. And so from a production perspective, as soon as we get the licenses in Israel, we're going to move. And then obviously production-wise in North America, it's about, finalizing the relationships that we spent a lot of time nurturing and building, closing the deals. And as from deal to execution, we've done it successfully here with COVID, building a plant from scratch in a year. If there's an existing facility and we're working with a partner and we're taking existing grow rooms and we're putting our systems in those grow rooms, that's going to be a lot faster. And we just got to work through making sure that, we're partnering with the regulators in the right way. So next year is the year of cannabis for us, the same way that this year was really the year of scaling Vinia.
Cool. So Dr. Hagay is not cringing when you say it's the year of cannabis. So Dr. Hagay, I'll ask you the next question. You've been working with cannabis cells for the past few years. How does it compare? What's unique about it compared to other plants that you've experimented with before?
So it is well known that the cannabis plant is a very complex plant. The cannabinoids produce only inside a particular area on the surface of the cannabis flower, and these are the trichome. And the trichome are fragile structure in the form of a mushroom that has a small bubble on a very fragile leg. So we have to induce the cannabis cells to grow and then to form trichome, which are a very important structure where the plant produces and stores the cannabinoids. On top of that, The challenge of growing trichome in liquid media is enormous due to the shear forces applied in industrial scale bioreactor that may destroy the trichomes. That is why we had to induce the cells to form a strong amalgamated structure to withstand such forces.
I think it's hard for people to understand just the sheer forces that are in these bioreactors, and when you actually see, you can imagine how fragile that specific trichome is, and then we're putting obviously doing certain things as far as different variables that we use, and they create shear forces against these trichomes, and it was, I would say, breaking biological barriers when Dr. Yochi and the team, how they figured out how to get these little trichomes to kind of all come together like hugging each other. Because when you look at it, that you just see all the heads all coming close together and forming these amalgamated trichome coral structures. And that's like a super secret on how we did this, and something that there's enormous IP, but that's the game changer, because that allows the trichomes to remain intact in the bioreactor and to produce the cannabinoids. And that's something that's really, really critical. And we haven't had to deal with that complexity, right, with pomegranates and with olives and with red grape cells. They're kind of, red grape cells, one degree of complexity, and it kind of went up for olives, then pomegranates. But then when you go to trichomes, cannabis is a unique plant in the context of the trichomes. No other plant has that kind of, factory that produces the active ingredients.
Thank you. That leads me to another one. People were asking about the combination products even before you put up the nice looking graphics. Forward looking, but when do you think we might be producing one of these combination products, like Vinia and Cannabis?
I knew you were going to ask me that on this, so I prepared for that. Look, once we get our Israeli licenses, right, then we're moving. And, we know what to do in order to produce this kind of product. We understand the technology to extract the CBD and CBDV in those kind of ratios. And so I would like to say that those kind of products can be brought to market in second quarter or latest third quarter of next year. And we'll come to market with a bang. I mean, we know we're now much more familiar with the American market. And we have also a level of, quiet confidence, I would say humble confidence, as we say, in the US market. So that's the game plan. And, Justin, I have here, some show and tell. This is a lot of cannabis that I'm holding in my hand. All right, take it to the camera, back. And you can imagine, like, this, we will grind further. And then together with Vinia, right? So I like the smell of it. Smells good. But, together with Vinia, right, this, forms an amazing capsule. And so this, again, just shows you the gravity of the power of our technology, that we can take it all the way through to, a hemp-based dietary supplement together with the polyphenols. So it's just about getting the green light here with the Ministry of Health that Dr. Yochi and our VP, Michal, of Regulatory Affairs are working hard on. And then, we'll move full force to bring these kind of products to market.
Two questions there. I've got a bunch about the time frame. I know you can't, you don't have a crystal ball, but what kind of ballpark potentially is the Israeli, the regulatory process?
We're hoping, and hope, I always say to Dr. Yochi, hope's a dangerous strategy, right?
Absolutely.
And look, our expectation is it's end of this year, early next year, right? We're in constant communication. The process is moving, and it just needs to go through its natural, courses to be able to land the licenses.
I'm smiling because I want you to answer this, because I get asked all the time. On behalf of Al and the people, when you held up that great big container, are they able to get any product, and what do you do with the product as part of the research?
So there's strict regulations and there's strict protocols on what we can do with the product, and obviously we're always following those protocols. And in that context, I'm terribly sorry, Al, you're not able to have access to the product. This Dr. Yochi, you can see she's here because she's the guardian of this, and this will be taken and locked up, as it needs to be. But I just brought this here just to show people, the composition. And again, this can be obviously grind a lot further, whether you're vape, whether you're going to be, taking and putting into pre-rolls, or obviously going through extraction process, or frankly, from a smoking perspective, it's just taking, in Israel, we used to smoking cannabis with tobacco. In other markets, you're just straight cannabis. So either way, you just roll it. It's a very, very versatile material. You're on mute, Justin.
Sorry, I will, for everybody that does write in, I will put you on a president's list. And when we do a product available in your market, we will put you at the top of the list.
That I will second that.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, thank you. I guess related to cannabis, but maybe for both of you, a lot of people asking about the next vertical after cannabis. What do we see being next? Are we looking at what that third vertical might be?
You wanna take it?
I will start, yes. The potential of our biotech platform to tackle the plant kingdom is quite broad. And the selection of the next endeavor is going to be a balance between the efforts required and the size of the prize. And I trust Ilan to be defining the next big thing accordingly. In my head, there are several ideas that are being processed but cannot be disclosed at this time.
Look, there are things that Dr. Yochi is working on. And again, leveraging the power of the platform technology into verticals where we can come with significant disruption. I just also want our shareholder partners to acknowledge that the necessity to focus is so important. Like, honestly, on Vinia, we haven't even scratched the surface. The opportunities for Vinia, let alone geographic expansion, but just think about it like in the context of vertical expansion, where Vinia can go, some of the clinical trials that we're planning on Vinia, some of the I would say data points we're seeing in areas that we wouldn't have dreamed we would get, but when you actually understand the mechanisms of action and the science, it makes sense. And then double downing on those areas and doing more clinicals and where that can go, it's just significant. And then we have to move to olives, and we have to move to pomegranates. And then on cannabis, you've seen here one strain. Look what one strain can give you, okay? And now Dr. Yochi and her team, they're able to tune those cannabinoids. So I can take this strain and we can, work through a process of modifying certain variables, and we can come up with a different strain, which will be like another variant of this signature medicinal composition to be more focused on certain medical indications. So my point is, there's so much work already for us to do in polyphenols, in cannabis, that we have to be careful that we focus, and that we're not like jumping to the next thing too early. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not working on stuff, okay? As a company, you always have to have resources working on the future. And Dr. Yochi owns the future. She owns the work we're doing in space. She owns the future verticals, and she has resource allocated to her. But I want to manage people's expectations, because the dollars and the ability to win and the ability to execute, they exist right now to enormous proportions to build a multi-billion-dollar company in polyphenols and in cannabis just in itself. Or even each vertical could be billion-dollar businesses from a valuation perspective. So let's just make sure we get that machine moving from an R&D perspective to the levels that we need it to be before we too quickly jump into other areas. But we are doing work and exploring the next, degree of complexity of what we can get into. And I've mentioned some of these areas before, leveraging the power of our platform technology with other verticals.
Yeah, thank you. We're at an hour 15 right now. I've got a couple of Vinia questions I'd like to ask really quick.
Sure.
And I'm sorry,
Thank you to
we will respond.
everybody. We haven't lost anybody, so thank you for everybody for staying around with us.
Yeah, and I have 29 questions in the queue right now. So I promise we're going to get to them all. What I will iterate is that we are publicly traded in Canada. You can find us on the Canadian Securities Exchange as BHSC, and on the OTCQB in the USA as CNVCF. There are a lot of people asking about investments. So, and if you have any questions, I'm Justin at BioHarvest.com. Happy to help. A great question from a few people. Are you working on different resveratrol levels for other Vinia applications?
So,
or one person asked, have you found the perfect level of resveratrol?
It's actually a very good question. I'll answer you this way. Firstly, Dr. Yochi and the R&D team, together with Kobe, who's our VP of operations, we really have found gold in the new technology that we have on the drying of the cells, which is, as I've mentioned before, basically is freeze drying and microwave drying, where it has a dramatic positive impact on our yield levels, as well as the overall quality, the levels of the polyphenols. So it also gives us the ability to have much more versatility in this area. And, we may find as we go into the next level of clinicals, similarly to what we did with Vinia, that we tested, and I'm not going to share the clinicals that we're doing here. We will be talking more about this in the next 3 months as we finalize the contracts with the different institutions we're going to be working with. But the new machine gives us the ability to do a lot more with Vinia. And really the dosing or dosaging levels are normally, when you go down the path of these clinical trials, as we did with Vinia, we had multiple dosage levels, and some of it's just the experimentation, So if you take, a specific indication, you might go with 400 milligrams, you might go with, 800 milligrams, 1 gram per day, and you then assess overall impact of the dosage level. So that's just a normal part of the clinical trial process, in addition to placebo, and that will drive different levels. And certain indications may need different levels. We've seen this already. We did a clinical trial on basically type 2 diabetes, early stage type 2 diabetes, and we demonstrated with 1 gram of Vinia every single day, which is 2.5 capsules, we were able to significantly reduce hemoglobin A1C levels and increase insulin sensitivity.
I would like to add something. I want to refer to the level of resveratrol in the red grape cells. So actually, we optimized the level. We are in the maximum level of passate resveratrol in the red grape cells. So today we are producing the level of resveratrol in our red grape cells is 100 times more than in grapes than in the vineyard. So we reach to the maximum level that grape cells can produce. This is the higher level, and we are there. So now we have to optimize the drying process, and we did it already.
Yeah.
So, but
because the drying process can make a big difference. So that's
absolutely.
like what we've really realized, and it's great input. That's why, it's so nice to have Dr. Yochi next to me here. The drying process, we now have competitive advantage in the drying process. Like it's, not only is it what we do with growing the cells, I will tell you now, the drying process, whether it's what we do with Vinia or what we're going to be doing with cannabis, right? It's a really important part of the IP of the company. And you're able to, again, just push the value of your active material significantly with the right match of technology to material. Super interesting.
Thank you. Sorry, I know we're running out of time. I'm just trying to. We have some anonymous people in the setup, and so please, if I don't get your question, Justin at BioHarvest.com, so that I know who to respond to. Thanks so much, Ilan. Maybe one more question each.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're good.
Okay. Yochi, for you, does Ilan ever set unreasonable expectations for your team? I'm kidding. But we've got.
I'm not going to let her answer that question.
Yeah, exactly. We are doing things that no other company's doing in the world. And people ask, how do you explain about us being kind of at the forefront, maybe our head start? Why are we the only company in the world producing cannabis in this way?
This is very, very good question. So the challenge of growing cells in liquid media in large scale is enormous. It took us almost 10 years to unlock the cellular biology of plants and fruits. This significant experience and the know-how that we gained over the years have led us to succeed in this huge challenge. And this challenge has been a deterrent for many other companies, especially after failed attempts by small and large institutions to perform such growth. Add to that complexity is the need to develop a platform that can address almost any plant, because otherwise it would be hard to achieve the economic scale given the magnitude of the R&D required.
It's just too hard, too complex. We've had a few miracles along the way. There's been so many companies that have tried and failed and sunk in this area. There's a huge graveyard out there of companies that have tried to do it in the plant kingdom.
Yeah, great. And it's a common question. And we also do encourage, Ilan is very accessible. We still do our weekly, Coffee with Ilan every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. But for prospective partners, people with the scientific questions, I have a lot of very technical questions, Yochi, I'll be sending you after this call around the composition. And maybe just one commercial capital markets question for you, Ilan, to finish up. When do you forecast break even / profitability for BioHarvest overall?
So, a personal objective of myself, and obviously it's something that we're very collectively focused on, is to get the business to a break even and positive from a cash operating profitability perspective by the end of next year. And, when you look at the amount of investment that would have gone into the company to get there, I'd like to think that we would be best in class for biotech companies, because I think everybody understands that biotech companies can require significant investment to get to those critical financial milestones and metrics. And I think we're going to get there, within the next 12 to 15 months. There's a few factors that'll drive that: the degree of how quickly we can scale Vinia, and we're on track. We're probably a little bit ahead of where we thought we'd be on Vinia, which is encouraging. We're seeing now so many more applications on Vinia. And we've got olive cells coming in, so I really feel good about our polyphenol numbers. And then, on cannabis, I feel, I got the best R&D team. I've got an amazing product, that we can do so many different things with. The only thing that's a little bit outside of our control are, the regulators that we need to go through and respect their process, and how quickly, we land those partnerships in the US, and how quickly we start building plants. But everything's ready. We have the blueprints for the manufacturing plants, and Dr. Yochi's been heavily involved in building those blueprints with Kobe, who's our VP of operations, working closely with Orihan and the team at Sugar. And, it's very much a copy paste. And what's amazing is that everything we do now on Vinia to take cost out and to drive more efficiency, it's like, tick the box, we'll do that on cannabis. Tick the box, because it's platform technology. That's the beauty of what we have. So, I feel quietly confident we can get there. We're definitely, it's a metric that we're focused on, and I'm accountable for that as the CEO, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. But yeah, I think I've been very consistent on that.
Yeah, perfect. Well, why don't we finish there? I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us, especially Dr. Hagay, for spending your evening with Ilan and I. Ilan, please take us away.
Yeah. So again, to our investor partners, very much appreciate all the support that you're giving the company as it relates to being critical bastions, ambassadors for the company and what we do. And I really hope that you all feel a strong sense of purpose the way Dr. Yochi and I feel. The last I would say couple of months on Vinia, when we saw we've had so many thousands of customers come into our customer base, and then you see like the virtuous cycle. You see all the reviews coming in. Before I used to get like 5 reviews a day. Now I'm getting like 20 reviews a day. You see the review numbers going up, and there's nothing better than waking up in the morning, and we all get the reviews. Myself, Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Yochi, we get every single review, right? We care so much about this company and our relationship with consumers and how our products are positively impacting consumers. And there's nothing better than waking up in the morning and feeling that gratitude and that sense of purpose on the spiritual work that we're really able to do in helping people improve their lives. And I really hope that BioHarvest is the purposeful bet that you're making in your lives from an investment perspective, and that it's something that you understand that everybody's playing. All our investor partners are playing such an important role in helping us build this business. There are many of you that send me emails and provide thoughts, understanding, perspectives, and it's all super helpful. And I want everybody to understand that we're all building this company together, this purpose-driven company together. And if we continue to do what we're doing and we just scale it as we bring more products, as we start to land cannabis in Israel, in the US, it's going to be something very, very special from an overall spiritual purpose perspective, as all of us make a significant foundational positive difference to the world, and then obviously returning significant shareholder value. So thank you to all of our investor partners for being with us now for nearly an hour and a half. And I hope I've done a good enough job with Dr. Yochi in really explaining to you today why today is such an important milestone for the company. And helping to dimensionalize it, because I think it takes a while for it all to sink in, for people to understand, wow, what did they do? That's just crazy. They've done magic. 3% hemp to 36% cannabinoids, the breadth of the cannabinoids from minor to major, the potential indications we can go after. And we have the right people here to do everything that we need to do and that I've talked about. So now our job is to go out and execute.